Today's guest is someone who proves that passion doesn't come from following a formula. It comes from paying attention to what genuinely moves you.
Jo England is the founder and CEO of Tribe, a business she's led for over a decade, redefining sustainable interior design across the UAE and the wider GCC.
With over 30 years of global travel and hands-on design experience, Jo has built a career rooted in creativity, ethics, and the respect for both people and the community.
In this conversation, we explore what it really means to build a life around creative work, how Tribe was born from reimagining derelict homes in Kuala Lumpur, and why sustainability, artistry, and intuition is at the core of everything she does.
This episode is for anyone questioning the right path, searching for their passion, or wondering if it's too late to build something meaningful.
This is Jo England.
Jo,
Yeah.
for anyone listening who doesn't already know who you are or what you do, what context can you give them that paints the picture of who you are today?
Ooh, that's a big one. So I'm a mum. I've got a son and a daughter who are older and finished studying and working, and my daughter's finished studying and working. My son's in his apprenticeship. And I'm just a creative person. Like I love a creative process where you see a brief unfold into, you can walk through it and you can feel the energy and the space. So I'm the founder and CEO of Tribe, which I founded in 2015, and it's been an incredible journey. Just the journey, the path that it's taken me on. I started it just as a lifestyle project, and it's just kept growing and growing. It's been a sort of a vertical growth path, I would say. So I source sustainably, like materials. I'm very focused on material and the artisan. So you were at the showroom yesterday. You would have seen all the different collections which we curate into different aesthetics. So the showroom is, I tend to go off on different directions, so rein me in. So the showroom's curated so that it supports the customer. It's very experiential. So it's designed in the 5 different aesthetics. So customers can resonate with one of them and they can decide, okay, this is how I want my bedroom. That's how I want my lounge room and my majlis. So it makes it easy for the customer. And so back to the question, I'm do a bit of everything.
We did go to the showroom yesterday and it was absolutely beautiful. We'll put some pictures up on the screen so that the audience can see. Before we go into the depths of Tribe, what kind of were you looking for in your late teenage years, your early 20s, and do you think that led you to found Tribe?
I think subconsciously it might have, because I left home at 19 with a backpack, and I think I had a boogie board and fins under my arm as well.
Classic. Love that.
And I just went on a journey. I was obviously with friends and met up with a lot of friends along the way. But over 2 years, I travelled all the way through Asia. I actually spent more than 5 months in India alone. Did the trains came down from Kathmandu into Varanasi, and then the trains right around the coast to the west coast and up to Pushkar and Jaipur and Jodhpur, and then went all through Europe and worked in London, and then did the coast of Spain, Portugal, Morocco, which is all a surfing sort of convoy trail. And I think going through all those countries, I was absorbing the culture of each country, and I'd look at beautiful furniture pieces and I think, I wonder how I would get that home, Like I never I was young and didn't really have a clear direction of career or anything like that. I knew I was creative. I studied art all through school and then went straight into graphic design, which was my career for 20 odd years. But I think I was collecting parts of the world, you know, in my memory bank. And then, when I moved to Malaysia, and I lived there for 13 years, and I changed my career from graphic design into interiors. So I was buying derelict houses and completely unlivable, stripping them down to their structural beams and replanning all the space. And Malaysia, you have a lot of open windows, and when the storms come through, you get a beautiful cross breeze. So it's all about opening the space up with big doors, and you have lots of ceiling fans. So when I replanned the space, I put all the living upstairs, and I put a plunge pool on the balcony, and open the ceiling up, so big rafters, exposing all the rafters, and then put all the bedrooms with a sunken lounge downstairs where it was cool and calm and quieter. So transitioning into renovating properties, and then I lived there for over a decade, had my family there, and then moved to Dubai, and it was sort of a natural transition to then start an interiors shop.
How different was that initially? Because you grew up in Australia, right?
I was born in London. I lived there till I was 9, and then I grew up in Australia.
And, you know, how different was that initially, that initial move to Malaysia from that early childhood in London and Australia?
Well, I think your whole sort of journey, it makes up who you are, really. So I think moving to Australia, I have a real appreciation for nature. You're just Australian lifestyle. You're in the ocean all the time. You're in the bush. You're dealing with things that you don't get in other parts of the world, like spiders and snakes, and you have a respect for it. You have a respect for nature. You understand how vulnerable it is. You understand how vulnerable we are. If you're into any sort of water sports, and you know how powerful the ocean is. So I think that really had a massive impression on me as a person. Malaysia, I sort of developed, my sort of creative side, and realised, that I have a vision with a space, and I know what I want to create. And then I think that traveling around the world, that impacted me greatly, because that's what I do in Tribe. I source from over 25 countries because I know where things are made. I know the handicraft, I know the artisan style, and I know what I want to, bring from these countries to actually curate what we have at Tribe. So I think, whatever journey you take, all your skill sets, all your memories, all your experiences, it all builds together to come into this magical thing that evolves. Yeah.
And I think walking into your showroom, we really feel the constructs of both back home in us, for Australia, for us and for you, but also the Gulf region as well. But I think I want to go back to that trip as a 19-year-old. Can you pinpoint any specific moment or place, maybe something that you saw or something that really stuck with you, and when you were starting Tribe, maybe was a key reason, for the beginnings of your own creative direction?
Well, I think Australia probably has had the biggest impression. So Tribe actually started because I couldn't find any natural material, say lighting, for instance, or furniture pieces, or, I felt Dubai really was missing that element of furniture. And Australia's very much, I've had a house in Byron Bay for 20 years, so that was my, that's where I spent my time, my holidays with my kids and things like that. And Byron's very much the style that I bought, the initial style I bought for Tribe. And then it really evolved, because then I would start thinking, I know somebody, in Africa, or I know somebody in Paris, and I know, I knew all the Australian artists that I loved, which, is what I stock now, the Jai Prince and the Karina Jumbrak, and we work with a number of artists and stock their limited edition prints. So it really just became the story, my favourite countries when I travel were Turkey and Sri Lanka. And so just knowing, the markets there and knowing some of the people some of the textiles that I was exposed to traveling. And so it just sort of, I'm a very visual person. So I could think of products or think of pieces that I thought, they'd fit so well in the collection. So it really just all, built to a story that's become what it is today.
You mentioned your early curiosities in art and creativity and how that correlated with your business now. How important do you think that is for people, especially coming out of high school, to lean into those curiosities and the things that they enjoyed growing up?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, I've raised 2 children myself, and just being very close with their communities, with their friendships, and we had an open door policy. I never wanted my daughters or my son's friends out hanging out, whatever. They could always just come home and just enjoy themselves. So I had a lot of close relationships with my children's friends. But I've always felt that there's just enormous pressure. I've career changed 3 times, and you've got kids at school just with the weight of the world on them, just thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I just feel, with so much, there's awareness now about anxiety and depression. And to me, it's all just pressure that, it should be more of an organic thing where school is exploring. You're exploring who you are and what you're good at. Like, we're all born with skills, right? We just don't know what they are yet because we haven't had the experience. So I really encourage my daughter to go for something a bit more general. So she studied international business, and through that she realised, I've always known she's an amazing people person because she was sort of the glue at school with all her friendship groups. She was, through university, she was RA, and, where she had 300 students, could go to her for support. But through studying something a bit more general, she could work out HR human resources was a bit more of her thing, but she also discovered she loved accounting. So it's really, if you can approach from that perspective, that you're exploring the world, you're learning about who you are, where your strengths lie. And at the end of the day, you've got to do this day in, day out. So you might as well do something you absolutely love. For instance, I would not cope in an office environment where, I couldn't be creative. Actually, I did work experience when I was in high school. It was one of the best things in Australia, that system. You have to do work experience for 2 weeks a year, minimum, I think. And so it forced me to think, what do I love? And there was 2 things. I wanted to work in a graphic design studio, and I also wanted to work with special needs kids because I couldn't decide between the 2 sort of careers. So just that simple of exercise of spending a week in a special needs home and spending a week in a graphic design studio. And when I walked into the studio, I obviously love both, but when I walked into the studio, I felt at home. I felt like, there was something that really resonated with me, just the design of the studio, how fun the people were. And it was clear to me then that I needed to take a creative path, yeah.
For you, would you advise kids who don't really know what they want to do with themselves and what line of work they really want to end up in, would you advise them to go into a more general degree, just given the widespread of outcomes that they can see on the other side of that, so they can figure it out for themselves even post a university degree?
I think just like finding sort of a mentor, sort of a person that you can talk this thing through with, someone that you trust and respect, and someone that's maybe not necessarily, is more like a friend type relationship, not a parent sort of. I mean, obviously your parents are your first port of call, but someone that can really objectively challenge you and say, you know, what do you really love doing, you know, and working around it that way. But also, I think initiative is something that's really underrated. Like if you take initiative yourself to, like what you guys are doing is next level. I'm so impressed that you're really, I mean, you're just doing this off your own back to, you know, you're exploring. And I think it's gathering, you've got to gather information. And it's taking initiative in any sense of the word. I mean, the world's your oyster at that point in your life. And I think it can feel overwhelming, but if you can flip it so that it becomes exciting, you know, like you can do anything you want. It's just a case of, the way you look at it, and also, you know, dream big, because you can literally do anything you can imagine. It's all up here. Like whatever you dream of, you can go and create it. I mean, anybody, you can put your heart and soul into anything. It's going to work, because if you believe in it that much, and if you give it that much energy and attention, and you do your research, obviously, you've got resources to support you in any way, it's gonna happen. So I think initiative, dreaming big, and pulling in some form of a mentor that you can just have that. You can have that space where you can share ideas. You can get honest feedback. Somebody who knows you well enough to say, "Hey, mate, you're not gonna, like, you need to sort out your organization, or you need to get clarity," or, you know, to give you honest feedback about how you're going to achieve things.
And did you take the university pathway, or did you kind of know before that you didn't really need that to do what you've done now?
So that's a really good question, because I struggled with this for a long, long time because I didn't go to uni. And I think I don't know if I was in an age bracket where I could get away with it at that point, because now it's like just standard, like everybody goes to university if they get the opportunity, you know. But I say that I did a degree, but I did it my way. I did a 360 degree because traveling the world taught me things that I don't believe I could ever have learned at university. I became very streetwise. It was a lot of intuition, based learning. So I did crazy things. Like one night we were in Athens, my girlfriend and I, and we had a really early flight. And because we're backpacking, we didn't want to get accommodation. So we found some stairs that went up to the rooftop of the Athens airport. I don't know if this is legal or not, but we were 19, and we just thought, we'll lie down here and we'll on our backpacks and just get a few hours sleep and then be at the airport to get the flight. And so I just intuitively put my passport under my sleeping mat and put everything safe, like wrapped it up in my arms and whatever. Whereas my girlfriend just left her camera out in its camera bag. And yeah, we woke up in the morning, the camera was gone. And but we had our passports, and so we flew out that morning. But 19, you're a bit more sort of easygoing, free, don't worry about things so much.
I assume not taking that path came with its criticism. Yeah, it came with its criticism and doubts from other people. Or?
No, I think the family I grew up in, like there wasn't a lot of pressure to, I mean, there was the jokes around, that I must become an accountant or a doctor. But no, I was lucky in that sense that I was just had the freedom to do what I wanted. But internally, personally, I struggled with not going to uni because for years I thought it was a something, I thought I have to go back and study. I have to have something, a qualification, which, later on I got qualified as an interior designer. But there's the flip side to that as well, which is I'm self-taught. All my skills, I'm self-taught because that's how I learned to do it. When I was a graphic designer, I learned all the programs. When I was working as a junior in design studios and ad agencies, but it was predominantly self-taught. And I think I've gone on, like I do all the photography, styling, the buying in Tribe, and it's all self-taught because I know what I want to achieve visually, so I just go about sort of creating that. But university, yeah, for me, I really felt like traveling really gave me a lot of learning that I couldn't have learnt those things in university. I became very streetwise, yeah.
At what moment of clarity did you feel that whether or not, and however long it lasts, that you were going to take the graphic design journey because you felt that was what was for you?
So I think at school I just did so many creative. I did 3-unit art, I did ceramics and photography and screen printing, and like that was my focus. That and boys, like I really didn't, the academic side, I just really didn't gel with, I was good at maths. I knew I had a natural talent then, but I knew I had a natural talent there, but that was a teacher that inspired me. I mean, I think a lot of it at school is luck on whether you connect with a teacher. You have a teacher that's really, really good communication and really, really passionate, very good at delivering to inspire kids, because you're so impressionable at that age, and it's just this spark for me. So I had an amazing maths teacher and I had an amazing art teacher, and I remember the day, when something clicked for me and I thought, oh my God, I got that. Like I got that theory and I understood it, and I realized, oh my gosh, I can do this, So I think that sort of strength, and I was lucky I ended up at a really art heavy high school as well in Sydney. But then, yeah, it was a natural transition. Doing that work experience, I realized, okay, I like that environment. That feels like home to me. When I'm in an ad agency or in a design studio, that feels like my comfort zone. And I never saw myself in a really sort of heavy corporate, number crunching type environment. And then, back then it was all about, not dissimilar to now, it's building your experience and trying to get those, trying to get a job or, work experience, anything you can do to show that you're employable.
Moving into Tribe now, the business side of things, is there any special meaning or story behind the name Tribe?
So I wanted something, as a graphic designer, doing your own brand is probably the hardest project I've ever done. I struggled with it for so long. I wanted something short and punchy, like just, a small word that was just memorable. So I obviously went through so much. And then the logo is actually a heart with, and it's basically all the things from around the world that I love has come into Tribe. So it's just this community sort of a feel about it, and that it all comes together under Tribe. Yeah, that's what I tried to to project in the brand.
Whilst you're a graphic designer for those 20 years, were there any individuals that gave you the peace of mind and the freedom and told you, look, I really think you can start your own thing? Or was that kind of all self-driven?
I think it's like every person in life that you come across, you take the lessons from it of what you don't want to be and what you do want to be. And that's how I've always subconsciously looked at things. I'm like, oh, I like that in somebody, and that's something I don't want to become, you know. But definitely there were key people. And the reason I say that is because I got fired from a job, and one of my earlier jobs, and I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't been trained, but they fired me because an ad went to press and there was a mistake in it. And it's like, well, how can it be my fault when I haven't been taught? You know, I haven't. Anyway, but that was one of the biggest learning experiences, because it made me want. It gave me the drive to actually be more proactive and have more initiative and learn more and things like that. So I think in every situation there's a silver lining, and sometimes it doesn't show you for a while, sometimes it doesn't show you for a year or two, but you can always look back and think, oh my gosh, that was like the best lesson ever. Because yeah, if you're that sort of a person where you can grow from experiences and you can reflect, which I definitely have become that person where I want to learn from every lesson. Yeah.
Were there any, you mentioned like the brand part was difficult, but were there any other difficulties that you came across, whether they were technical, starting up, or mentally, or anything else like that?
So I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I totally faked it in the beginning.
That sounds like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just knew what I wanted to create. And so all the systems, I mean, it was sort of ignorance in the beginning, but I learned so much. That's why I said at the beginning, my growth path was pretty much vertical. So I didn't know anything about retail. I didn't know about inventory. I didn't know any of the systems. I was inspired by a girlfriend of mine who I just was telling the whole concept to. And I think she'd heard it a couple of times by that point. And then she just said to me, she said 2 words. She said, just start. And that just got under my skin, and I flew off to a country that I had in mind, and I ordered a container, and it was a complete disaster because I didn't have it QC'd and I didn't have the suppliers. That in itself was a really good learning experience, and it just went from there. I just learned along the way, and I knew I had to make it happen. I mean, it was a lifestyle project, but I knew what I wanted to create, and I know the beauty of products and spaces, you know, when you put it together very well, how it can make you feel so amazing. And it's this, you know, I love this sanctuary word, creating your sanctuary. You come home from a crazy world into your sanctuary, and it's a value you can't put a figure on it, sort of thing.
What advice would you give to people who are wanting to start something for themselves when, like how you spoke about with your own experience, when so much is still unknown and it can be so easily daunting and overwhelming?
Okay, so I really believe in the niche in a business, but it's got to come from deep within you. You've got to really believe it and know, be super passionate about it. That's why tying in your strengths and your skills, tying it into that it's a little magic formula, basically. There's so much competition now There's obviously everyone has an entrepreneurial spirit in them. So it's really doubling down on that niche and being so clear about it. It's the clarity that gives you your strategy, and then it's a case of pulling in the people and the to execute it, and really have a strong vision of what you're going to create.
And so now take us through the step-by-step process of how you design for your clients, whether it be an apartment or a house or an office space. What kind of things do you look for before you begin?
So working with customers, there's a lot of psychology in it. Sometimes you'll be, between a couple that don't agree. Sometimes you're, with teenaged kids who don't really know what they want, and they don't even know how to express that, or it's really just understanding. It's a lot of listening and just being intuitive to what could solve a problem. We take a really practical approach, and we really want to just create that magic for people. It's such a personal thing to do to a customer's home. But honestly, a lot of the inspiration comes from the showroom. When the customers are in the showroom, they light up when they see something that they really love, and it makes the process very easy.
Who are the types of people that you work with that you can kind of feel a bit of a trend that comes in of the people who come into your showroom and, like you said, that light bulb springs for them, and then you're able to go into their space? And is there any sameness, or is on any given day it largely different?
That's what I love about Dubai. Every day is different. It's so exciting. Years ago, I was in our little store in the courtyard, which is sort of the touch point for the showroom. And I've become very good at reading customers that come in, and I was watching this really lovely Emirati couple, and they were spending some time, just looking at everything and really absorbing each piece. And I said to them, "Are you working on a project?" And they said, "Yeah, we're working on an island resort in the UAE." This was quite a few years ago. And so from that conversation, 2 weeks later, I was on a little plane going out to the island to do a site visit. And, it can go from that to full projects. I'm now working on a big concept for a restaurant. So bringing a whole concept into an existing restaurant to really sort of elevate it and do all the styling and all the sort of the conceptual branding around the restaurant. We also do staging for developers. So developers that are building, big sort of even towers or villas. We come in and do the show home, and we've had amazing results with our previous projects, where projects like rows of 15 townhouses have sold out in a couple of weeks, and then they've retained the end units and the show home, which we've styled, 4 stories. And they've retained those, and those have sold at a different price point as soon as they've been released. So we do multiple projects. We also do full fit outs for Airbnb, and we've had customers that need their new home quickly sorted out because they're landing with a newborn and 2 toddlers, and they can literally just hop into bed when they land. So we get such an amazing array of customers coming in. It's pretty exciting in this part of the world.
And here, has there been any cool stories of who you've worked with, or big people, or anywhere it's gone wrong even?
Yeah, most of them are confidential. we do work with some pretty amazing people, and we work with palaces, obviously, and but yeah, not so much. No, nothing's gone wrong. We're there to resolve problems and we, make things happen.
Joe, your business places a strong emphasis on sustainability and ethically sourced materials. Why is that so important to you, and why do you think that should be important for society as well?
I think we've all got the ability to make a difference, and it's just choices. You can either choose to take your shopping bag to the shops, or you can go to the shops and, just use a plastic bag. And I've been obsessed with not using plastic bags for the longest time. Like when my kids were toddlers, even we'd go to the supermarket, their hand would go out, no plastic, because we always had our shopping bags with us. It's just a simple habit, And no, I think growing up in Australia and having this respect for nature and the environment, and having, people like Jane Goodall as my absolute, God, I should say that again. Having people like Jane Goodall as my absolute hero. I think I've always had an awareness about the environment, and I didn't want to do a business that was just pure commercial. I wanted it with a purpose. So one of our taglines is interiors with purpose, because we do make a point of every product has been handmade by a person. So that's endorsing an artisan, and it's also supporting their community. When you endorse an artisan, it educates their children, it puts a roof over their head, it helps them to get medical attention. It also, feeds out to their community. Especially when you're ordering product on the scale that we order, they need to bring in community as well. So we sort of have a company ethos that we follow as a brand. I think our customers appreciate it. We have a lot of certified product as well. So our rugs that we provide are B Corp certified, which is the highest certification in the world. So they build schools in every village where their workers are, and their children go to school and get a full education. They get a uniform, they get 2 hot meals a day, and the parents are the weavers of the rugs. And it's such a unique concept, but we guarantee no child labour on our rugs because of this. We have a few rug suppliers. We have an outdoor rug collection, which is made from 100% recycled plastic bottles. And these rugs, you can put a mild soap on and hose them off, and they're also B Corp certified. And then we do full custom rugs, and they're all Care and Fair certified. So they're all certified against child labour, which is a huge issue with the industry. So I didn't want to go blindly just ordering things because they look pretty. I wanted to know where they came from, who made them, and who's getting paid for this work. So simple choices like that we can all make. And they're all, because of our ethical pricing, everything's fair priced. We really believe in top quality, because I want our furniture to last a lifetime and not be, disposable landfill. So we also have a lot of products that are biodegradable, so they're all made from botanical materials. And then one of the collections I'm proudest of is our recycled aluminium collection. So I've got around 30 to 40 vessels, like vases and bowls and pots, and they're all in different colour palettes, and they're all made from old microwaves and old car parts. And that's what excites me, because we're taking out of landfill and we're repurposing them, and they're absolutely stunning. They're amazing for commercial use because you can put them you can place them in a hotel. I can drop them on the floor and they literally bounce. They look like ceramics, but they're actually aluminium, and they're recycled aluminium. So those are the sorts of products. All our wood is reclaimed, so they're old houses that have to be rebuilt. we have a really amazing supply of reclaimed wood. So it's aged wood, and we remake it into new furniture, and we colour it so it looks like oak. It looks like, we can make it look like walnut. So there's endless resources, and I just believe there's a way to do everything sustainably and with more care and attention. And I think if more people had companies like Armadillo with the B Corp certified, where they build the schools, we wouldn't have a lot of issues in the world that we have. So that's just my personal thing that I wanted to build into the company.
Where do you think you see Tribe going next in terms of operation and projects? I mean, obviously you just spoke about the aluminium vases, but just given the eco-friendly furniture market is meant to reach 77.5 billion by 2032, I guess, how do you see yourself and the company being a part of such a exponential growth?
So we've got the capacity for growth. Because we source from over 25 countries, and it's slow furniture, so it does take time to come in. But we can manage that through our sort of buying system. All of our sofas and beds we hand make locally, and they're commercial grade. We just made 142 sofas for St Regis in Red Sea, so we have capacity. The growth in Dubai is incredible. So yeah, we're sort of working on opening a showroom in Abu Dhabi, and we work a lot with real estate agents, obviously all the staging and all those projects. So yeah, we're excited for the future and where it's headed, and the more people that are opting for Tribe with an ethical story and ethos, then yeah, it's better for the artisans and better for the environment.
And that growth is really exciting. But
Yeah.
95% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Tribe has not only grown exponentially over a decade, but it's the leading business in sustainable materials in the UAE and the GCC. How have you put yourself in that 5% that's not only survived, but grown so much?
So I am part of an amazing business organisation called Entrepreneurs Organisation, which we all lovingly call EO. And it has been a phenomenal support. I started in their accelerator program. So if you're under $1 million US revenue, you can enter the program as an accelerator, and you get exposure to a lot of events, learning events, and you have a supportive community, you have an accountability group and a coach. And then when you graduate, you can apply to go in as a full member. So I've been with the group for 8 years now. So I would attribute a lot of my learning and support through the group. They do have recite a similar stat about companies that survive, the sort of dips in your business. If you're an EO member, you've got a greater chance. So phenomenal support there, constant learning, and a pretty tight-knit friendship group, which I think, you've got to have a balance of everything. Obviously, family support and encouragement.
Well, I think as we were literally just speaking about yesterday, the definition of company is the people around you. So I think that can be said for a lot of people across a lot of different industries, that whoever you're surrounding yourselves within, and for you it was being in the Entrepreneurs Organisation as an accelerator for 8 years, that they can really grow within themselves, whether it be business, personal, travel, whatever it might be. And you've kind of already touched on why Dubai and the UAE is kind of where you've decided to take your company and where you've decided to base yourself. But how frequently does you or your team travel to meet with your network of artisans dotted around the over 25 countries that you've spoken to?
So I personally do all the buying trips. So once we establish a relationship with a supplier, then I don't need to visit them, and there's constant communication with them. And we do a lot of development, obviously online, because I've got to run the business as well and look after customers and. So yeah, all my initial buying trips in the early days, and I continuously go every year. So this year I've got 3 trips planned in this quarter. So it's just, it's sourcing new items and working, I'm always on the lookout for that material that's been developed. I actually studied bamboo in Bali. I did a bamboo design and build course there. So I'm quite passionate about, materials like that. And obviously now there's just so many amazing materials coming out that we can always be coming into the collection.
Joe, what do you feel is the most prohibitive thing about starting your own business?
Okay, so I find a common thread, everybody I talk to. It's self-confidence and it's self-doubt. And honestly, what I went through internally when I started my business, if I'd have put all that energy aside and put it into, starting it off, it would have been a very different experience for me. But everybody I talk to, the self-doubt, the self-worth, the confidence, self-confidence is something that everybody struggles with. And that's why if you get clarity on what you want to create and you just stay focused on that, and yeah, just purely through experience, your confidence is going to grow. And you've got to believe in yourself, because nobody knows what you're going through except for you. And if you just believe in yourself, you'll just go leaps and bounds.
Moving kind of to the family side now, you've built a long-standing business while raising children. How have you balanced that work life with being present as a parent over such a long time?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if balance is the word. It was really hard, really, really hard. I mean, when I opened my shop, my first little shop, which was on Shakeside Road, I would close the doors at 2:00 because I had to go do school run. And I was the last parent to pick up every single day. And apologising, first words out of my mouth were, sorry I'm late. And but it was just so much to juggle. So then I started to bring in, the support in the team at work, and built the team slowly. And I've been pretty lucky with, employees that have just so committed and stayed with me for a long time. My first employee has been with me over 10 years, and he's still with me to this day, which I'm pretty proud of. And he's moved up to be a manager of, all the back of house, and goes to installations, where he's running the team to install really pretty substantial projects. So I think balancing work and family life, it was hard. My kids were young, but I also, they were settled, and they had after school activities and all that sort of thing. So that sort of gave me time. That's how Tribe was born, because I realised I did it once they were settled into school and had a really good routine and into their sports and everything. I actually had a lot of time in the day to do something useful with.
And so what advice would you give to the women who want to pursue a professional career and you know, raise a family, and especially to those women who told that like you can't do both?
I think it's really important to have your own purpose, because I think you can lose your way very, very easily if you don't have a purpose of your own. And you know, I've got very good friends that are just super happy to be at home full time and raise their family, but I was not one of those people. I needed to have my own. I needed to have a creative outlet. And you know, it can be on all different levels. You know, you can be an amazing seamstress, and you know, one of my best friends has started a quilting business because she's so passionate about it. It doesn't need to be, you know, warehouses and drivers and Instagram and, you know, buying trips and all this. It can be on what you're comfortable with. But I really believe it's important as a woman to have a purpose other than your family, your husband, your well-being, your fitness, all this. I do believe it's really healthy, because one day your kids grow up and have a life of their own. And yeah, that's one of the hardest times I've ever been through, was when my kids left home. I was not prepared for that. But I'm glad I had my business to, you know, that I had built, and it gives me a lot of purpose.
Jo, what do you feel like was the best advice you ever received? And I understand that's quite on the spot and that can bring up a lot of thoughts, but I just want to kind of try and see, with your journey that you've had, why did that kind of stick with you?
You know, when I started the business, I went into EO a couple of years later. So I think a lot of the wisdom I've learned is from my peers there. And, you know, dreaming big, I think, has always stuck with me, because, you know, you can create, you know, whatever you aspire to. I think along the way you learn, you know, that growth comes with its own set of headaches. Like you have, you know, you'll get to a certain level and everything's sort of smoothed out a bit, and then you get an opportunity and you jump at it, and then, you know, but again, then you need more people, you need more storage, you need more stock, you need more this, that and the other, you need more delivery vans, so you learn to grow at your own pace, what you're comfortable with. I've always tried to keep things at a level where I can manage it, and what's comfortable for me. I've been pretty risk adverse. Like, you know, I've sort of grown at an organic pace. So I think, yeah, just being around a really incredible group all these years, where, you know, the language that we speak, the content we talk about has always been very uplifting and positive. And learning to listen to others and learn and take your learnings from other people's experiences is very important. Yeah, I think just dream big, you know, especially when you're young and you've got your whole career ahead of you and your whole life ahead of you. Just having that one thing in the back of your mind that you just know you're working towards it.
You've spoken to the ups and downs of any professional career quite a bit, and I just want to go on, you know, when people are starting out their own thing, rough times can come really early. So what advice would you give to people who have just started their own company, they're really excited about it, they've got ambitions of the world, but they're facing these tough challenges in the early stages?
Yeah, so I actually coach an accelerator group now. I've got a phenomenal group of entrepreneurs. So we go through together the peaks and the troughs, and it's quite normal. But, you know, they have a support group. That's why I keep saying, if you've got people around you that you can talk to on this level, it's super important. I think just recognizing that it is normal to go through tough times in business, but it's having that sort of strength to dig deep and find solutions, basically. Be resourceful. I think the best thing about being an entrepreneur is you have the ability to pivot and to be agile. So when COVID hit, we just jumped into action because we're a small company. We were so lucky to be one of the companies that could keep going. Agility and being resourceful to think of solutions, to just keep going and keep building on your dream and building on your vision.
Well, the whole purpose of this podcast is to help ourselves and help other people find their own passion. How would you help them with that process, whether it be interior designing in the creative field or something completely opposite, like something to do within the finance world?
I think it's the little moments in your life that stick with you. And they really, things really, and I always think of this one thing when I was younger. I remember one of the first plastic disposable boxes that I got. I must have got a takeaway or something, I don't know. And it really upset me. It really annoyed me. And that to me was a trigger. And from that moment onwards, I thought, I want to make something that can just dissolve or biodegrade or something. And it's all those little moments that you actually join the dots, that you realise it's your passion. It's something speaking to you. It's stirring something in you that you're uncomfortable with it. You're not happy with it. It's like you get angry about it. Why did I get angry about it? Because I could see back then, and I'm talking 30 years ago, I could see that I was starting to think, how are we going to get rid of this stuff, So I think it's recognising these small moments that all build to actually make up what your niche is going to be, what you're going to find in your life that's going to, all those things drive you to a point to make you want to make a difference or create something that will make a difference.
Well, Joe, kind of a running theme on this podcast that we want to carry on is we asked someone from the audience, one of our followers, friends, a question that they'd have for you. And this one's actually from my little sister back home.
Aww.
Did anyone ever discourage you or doubt you, and how did you jump back from that?
Yeah, I think one of my earliest jobs in graphic design, I resigned because I was going travelling, and my boss said to me, "You'll never get another job. You won't make it out there," or something like that, because he was obviously, not emotionally intelligent enough to be happy for me. And he was stuck in this environment that he'd created. I don't know, but he couldn't be happy for me that I was going to travel the world. And I did go on to work every day of my life, after that. But that sort of negativity, I think it's the rebellion in me that if I'm told not to do something, I'll go and do it, and it goes back to one of my earlier comments. It's you take from people what you like, what you do want to be and what you don't want to be.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for sharing your story so openly, not just the success, but the intention and the purpose behind it. I think Tribe genuinely feels like less of a brand, but more of an ongoing conversation and on how we create and live. I think that's the question we'd probably want to leave to the audience is, what impact do we want our work to have on the rest of the world? So thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'm so happy for you both that you're doing this. It's an incredible initiative. I wish you all the best.